So yes, welcome to Contentful's headlines webinar from GEO or from SEO to GEO. Today we have an excellent panel of experts to discuss the future of AI, search and content strategy, and how those all fit together and everything in between. So first, we'll do a quick round of introductions. I'll introduce myself first. I am Josh Lohr. I'm the SEO lead at Contentful and have been for the past 3 years, but I've been working in SEO directly for the past 15 years. I live in Edinburgh, Scotland, which is the reason I'm wearing a sweater in July. And yes, the accent does not match. I'm originally from the good old US of A in Chicago. So I will pass over to Alex.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Yeah, it's great to meet you all. My name is Alex. I am the Senior Manager of Power Solutions at Vercel. I've been at Vercel for over 2.5 years, based out of Chicago, and I work with our strategic partners like Contentful and Applied Digital on helping our joint customers build really fast, dynamic, and AI native applications. So super excited to be here talking about SEO to GEO. Scott, I'll hand it over to you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Scott from Vancouver, Canada, and I'm one of the founding partners of Applied Digital. We're an experience transformation company, and I'm really excited about this today. I've managed to actually save myself 40 hours a month by doing AI things for myself to simplify my life. We won't get into that today, but I think that's a really good thing. And I lead all of our work on the NFL, NBA, Disney, Craft, and more. And really looking forward to helping everyone understand this space today.
Awesome. Thanks for those great intros, everyone. Let's dive into today's agenda. So we're going to cover what's changing in search, so how AI is disrupting the search landscape, and just like frankly, what is GEO as well, for anyone that's interested there. As well, we'll discuss what to do now, so highlighting what you should be doing to optimize for generative AI. And finally, what to prioritize. So which activities you should get after first, and sort of how to explain all of this to the C-suite. Cool. So turbulent times for SEO. In my 15 years in SEO, I've never seen or experienced a more turbulent time in search. So it's been a doozy of a year for anyone reliant on organic search or working in SEO. So all this kind of kicked off about a year ago in May. Google leaked the internal engineering docs, which revealed all these things that we already knew or suspected anyway. And then there was the introduction of AI overviews, which really shook the industry. And then we had a host of algorithmic and spam updates, which absolutely murdered independent publishers and affiliates. And then ChatGPT launched at the tail end of last year. ChatGPT search launched at the tail end of last year. And then of course, Google's AI mode came after it as well. So really, since that, what we've seen is what's been coined as the great decoupling. So that's the crocodile in people's analytics data, specifically in Google Search Console, where impressions are either stable or they're even rising because search demand is increasing. There's data to support that, 22% up year on year in Q1 or Q2, but impressions, the traffic is on the decline. So that's where you get the crocodile. And for some, it's a slight downturn, but for others, it's much more serious. And basically, the bottom line is that traffic from organic search has probably peaked, and AI is certainly the main culprit. So what this means is a host of new behaviors and technologies to study and understand and thus optimize for. So before we get into some of this, I wanted to issue a quick word of warning. LinkedIn is a minefield, so beware. I'm assuming that many of you perhaps actually found out about this webinar through LinkedIn, which is great. So thank you for finding us via that. But really, LinkedIn is absolutely full of SEO snake oil. It's an old term that was used a decade or so ago, but it's back and it's rebranded with AI and sort of your LinkedIn bros, for lack of a better term, are capitalizing on this fear of the unknown that we all have. And as a result, like, you're probably swimming in a sea of links from your colleagues or your boss or even the C-suite. But what we're kind of here to communicate is not to panic. We have some solid advice throughout this webinar, so stick around. And do note that, more changes are on the way. So we can't get too comfortable, but certainly one thing is for certain: the future of search is AI driven. So we really do need to get used to it. Did you guys have anything else to add before I move on?
No, I just had one point on there, was just like, with all these changes, I think everyone, at least in retail, is so focused on what's going to come for like this sort of like retail holiday season, and how getting into this now is going to make a huge difference. Like, with our clients, we do see some that are scared, and there is going to be a bit of a winner take all this holiday season for people that are and have this dialed, and those that don't.
Yeah, and I'll add, there's a data point that I think is a good anecdote for some of the impact here, as well as the opportunity. Vercel did research across thousands of applications on our infrastructure and saw that OpenAI, Anthropic AI crawlers are more than 20% of Google bots requests on the internet. So this is a big net new presence on the web that's consuming your content, and we'll get into how to take advantage of this, but this really is a huge opportunity to get your content into a whole new channel that really, really understands the meaning behind your content.
Absolutely. We're gonna open with our first poll question. So the question is, how would you describe your current SEO strategy? Are you focused on traditional SEO? Are you actively exploring GEO or AI optimization? Are you adjusting but not quite that confident about it? Or are you like, what is GEO? And that's why I'm here, to learn more about that. So you should have a poll up in front of you. So please do answer that. See a couple of questions trickling in as well. That's great. Thank you, guys. All right, the results are in. It looks like everybody, most people, and it's a significant margin, 49%, are actively exploring GEO and AI optimization.
Great.
That's very good. Everyone's tucked in and really exploring that. So great, cool. We'll move on then. Let's talk about what is GEO for those 18%, I think it was, that wanted to know what GEO is. So GEO is, some people call it GEO. I feel like that's kind of laborious. I just go with GEO, it's easier. But yeah, to each their own, I suppose. But GEO, generative engine optimization. You also have AEO, which is quite a popular one, answer engine optimization. You have AIO, which is AI optimization. I've seen quite a lot of LinkedIn articles that are sort of preaching that there's differences between the three. That's certainly some folks' opinions. I would sort of say that they're essentially the same thing, but it's really just a preference thing, and it's kind of like we're back. If you remember way back in the day, people couldn't decide between SEO and SEM. Was a big debate. But anyway, let's talk about what GEO is. So it is essentially optimizing an entity. So for instance, a brand, or a person, a place, a thing. But essentially you're optimizing, or a product or a service. But you're optimizing that to increase its visibility in Gen AI results. Whereas SEO, you're optimizing content. So I mean that in its holistic definition, so web pages, images, PDFs, with the goal to increase its visibility in organic search results. So GEO essentially shifts the focus from optimizing content for organic search results to optimizing brands and entities for visibility in Gen AI. And the really good news is that both play very nicely together. Cool. So let's jump into some key differences. So with search experience, so SEO is designed for single queries. So someone conducts a search, they find a link in this absolute busy sea of results. They finally find something, and then they click through, which equates to traffic, right? With GEO, the LLM is anticipating the user's next question, so they chain together multiple queries into the response, and so the result is this kind of context-rich, multi-step answers. Essentially they're a step ahead of the traditional searches, so they're oftentimes at the tail end of the response, you'll see that they're asking you a leading question. Would you like me to do something with this information or whatever? So it's a much more rich experience, and they're always thinking ahead and being one step ahead. With the click-through rate from the results, so it averages about 8.5% from Google organic search, which of course is dropping rapidly with the increase of zero-click searches. I think it was up oh, sorry, I had it right here. But anyway, it was up 13 percentage points from just year over year from May to 25. From last May to now, which was 69%. Obviously that is having huge impact on click-through rate, and obviously is contributing to that crocodile we talked about earlier. And it's all from the introduction of AI overviews in AI mode. On the flip side, when you're in a chatbot environment, the user behavior is contained, so users don't want to leave. So the click-through rate then obviously drops to less than 1%, and that equates to less referring traffic from the LLM. So this is hitting brands very hard, many of you probably very hard. So what this means for the referring traffic itself, so whatever traffic we do get for SEO, it's obviously higher quantity, but the quality is it varies. So based on search intent or where they at in their buying journey. For GEO, there's a belief that the quality of traffic is much higher or better from Gen AI. And the thought there is that it's pre-qualified, meaning that the user has already done their research in the LLM, and thus they're going to convert better. Google's been telling this as well a lot, sort of saying that the quality is much better, but not releasing any data about this. In fact, we were quite in the dark during the whole initial launch of AI overviews, that there was no way to segment that data within Google Search Console, you might remember. But anyway, the point being is that there's new research from Ahrefs that actually suggests that the traffic from AI overviews may not perform as well as the search counterparts, which was disappointing because we did expect for it to be higher quality. So AI visitors, they bounce more, they visit fewer pages, or they engage less than search users. So those were some of the leading indicators. But I would say that the jury is very much out here, that there isn't a whole lot of research so far to date about the quality of the traffic, but I suspect in the coming quarters, we're going to learn a lot more about that. And as Scott actually alluded to earlier, I think the holiday season, we're going to probably have a wealth of data about LLM, quality of referring traffic versus the traditional traffic. So let's talk quickly about KPIs. So just, traffic's on the decline, but there's no indication that demand is too. So brands and content are still being discovered through AI. So in this new era that we have, we just need to measure differently, right? So with GEO, we need to start switching to deeper pipeline metrics, bump conversions to the top of that list, AI visibility, share of voice, even tracking branded searches is a really good indicator of how well you're performing in other channels, or what kind of impact they're having on AI discoverability. So you can use that as a leading indicator. The bottom line is that traditional search is designed to give results, whereas generative search is designed to give an answer. And depending on the search intent, they both have value, but there's a possibility that searchers are more comfortable or prefer getting an answer for their query rather than results in the future. And this would mean that GEO becomes the dominant practice to optimize for discoverability?
Yeah, just to underscore this point too, across the research that we've done at Vercel, both on our own web applications as well as seeing with customers, being the answer or giving the answer is definitely the distinction that we're seeing for GEO. So that means crafting content, as we'll get into in a bit, that lends an answer so that LLMs can consume it. So an answer can be probably a lot of things, but from what we've seen, really effective answers are going to be like, you have a lot of depth of knowledge on an area, and then you're offering it up with a lot of clarity. So it can be easily citable. The easily citable and clarity is going to be really important for an LLM consuming it and then sending it over to users at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be critical to essentially having visibility in those answers. So critical. And I think we're going to underscore this throughout this presentation. But yeah, let's jump quickly to the GEO playbook. So this is all about how to stay visible in AI search. So I'm going to pass to Scott to lead us through what LLMs reward.
Yeah, I think the main thing here is to realize that obviously these are bots that are crawling the site, and we said it a couple times about all of, I would say, traditional SEO plays well into this. Like having that as your baseline is where to start. You don't go wrong by doing that. And I saw in the chat, people were talking about LLMs.txt. So that is the equivalent for people that have been SEO for a long time, like the robots.txt. I wouldn't say that all the crawlers respect this or look at it, but some do. So the answer is, I would say there is, it doesn't hurt. And I think that it's fairly new. So and it's very low effort. So I would say at this point, do it, certainly set that up for yourself and decide if you want to be crawled or not. And then there are indexing tools that are starting to come for some of these engines themselves. So that is like a direct connection right into them. I'm going to paste one into the chat here. So if you are someone who is essentially like selling a product of any type or service, OpenAI will let you register for that at this link, and then you can provide a feed. And so there's an example of being able to directly impact what's being shown out, let's call it in ChatGPT through OpenAI, because there's a few questions in the chat of how do we fix this? Maybe I have something wrong. Obviously not all of them have this yet, but take a look at that. There's actually a list of all the categories that they support. And right now it's essentially a wait list, and they're curating it and bringing people in. So definitely, if you are on the sell side, go to that link and register. And from where are these guys crawling? Well, it's the other one that I found was a little bit surprising is just how much Bing matters. So actually you should be looking at how Bing is representing your search, because that's Microsoft, and that's going to help fix some of those things as well. But they always do look at Wikipedia. They're very strong at looking at Reddit. And the other one is when the LLMs have made direct agreements. So an example here is the Vox Media Group has made a direct agreement for selling their data to the LLMs. And you see Perplexity and OpenAI all doing the same thing. And then large partners like Target and Walmart and those kinds of ones are making direct agreements for sharing directly. So in terms of getting that share model and being in front of people, there is both the traditional, say, put it out there to be crawled, and then trying to form that direct relationship wherever you can. So just making sure that is in there for you to see. And again, it's very typical. Better you are showing up from PageRank and being in the right place and as a trusted source, that is still matter, because that is considered by the LLMs. There's a lot to this, and I would sort of just end here with MCP, because I think you probably are hearing this term, which is the Model Context Protocol. For those of you that are primarily in marketing, this is a conversation with your developer team, and it would be how you would actually expose your site almost like a database to be crawled, as opposed to as content. It's a very different thing, structured exactly for data and exposing your stuff as a real-time feed of your content. It's very different than the SEO game, but that's more on the developer side. And I think there's going to be lots of talk about this, but let's move on, and we'll sort of keep hitting on these points as we go.
Sounds great. I saw a really good question. I'm watching these questions come in. There's so many good ones. So it's do you optimize different tactics? I think we're going to get to that, across different LLMs. How do you optimize? We'll have a couple of notes on there, but yeah, just over to Alex for talking us through the foundations of optimizing for AI search.
Yeah, here I wanted to put together some high-level practical how-tos, how to think about your site, but also how to start optimizing for AI search. And these are the 4 key pillars that I really see this as. This first one, I think, is probably very easy. If you've been thinking about SEO, if you're on this webinar, you're probably already set up for success here, but you want to make sure you have and are using good SEO best practices. So making sure your site is very fast, making sure you're using the ideal rendering strategy for content, like server-side rendering, is going to be very important, as it has been in SEO for GEO. And then structuring your content in your HTML so that it can be understood by bots, still very relevant. So using semantic HTML, best practices, structuring for bots with JSON-LD. And then really kind of like a high level idea is, if you are thinking about creating a great user experience, you're setting yourself up for success. And what I mean by a great user experience is, if you're crafting content that is rich, that's meaningful, that users want to engage with and come back to, this is all going to be extremely relevant for an LLM that understands the meaning behind your content, and they're going to want to deliver that content to users via those tools. So you're probably already checking the boxes on this, but definitely worth continuously visiting these SEO best practices. Next, I've lumped this pillar as just team agility. For team, I'm really referring to like your marketing/content team, as well as your development team. We're in a period of a lot of iteration and change. There's going to be best practices coming out tomorrow, next week, next month. You want your development team to be able to quickly adapt and ship any new best practice so that you can start gleaning how you're performing with new applications appealing to AI. You want to ship these quickly, and just like you ship features quickly, you want your marketing and content team to write new content, publish that content, and see it immediately online. We'll get into in the next bullet, like kind of like freshness and frontier content, but it's really important that your marketing team is enabled to publish as often as they can. Next is expert content. So we already kind of touched on like how answers are going to be preferred over keywords, and answers, again, is really all about having depth, clarity, and freshness with the content that you own. Particularly if you can get in early on a piece of frontier content and establish yourself as the subject matter expert, it's going to be recognized as LLMs that they should be citing you to users that are looking for answers. So I hope that these bullets provide some clarity on it. Obviously, you could take this much further, but one way to measure how you're doing, or to check if you have expert content, is to obviously track and measure. So once you've done what you think is probably the best steps for setting up for AI search, you want to make sure you track how you're doing. This means monitoring your site for performance. Page speed is always going to be important with how fast and effective AI can parse your content. You're going to want to probably set now content refresh cadence. You don't want to just throw content out on the internet now and just have it get stale. You want to make sure that content stays relevant. So you want to periodically update that. Check your referrer traffic. See how many referrers are coming from ChatGPT. If it's going up, you're probably doing things right. You can continue on that path. Otherwise, you may need to adjust. And then last, we'll say, especially what we do at Vercel with optimizing our own GEO, is we take a look at communities and social platforms and see if our answers are getting cited by them. If it's being cited organically out in the world, it's a good chance that LLM is going to know that it can cite it as well. So this is the foundations, but of course, if you have any questions, we can take questions at the end.
That's great, Alex. One thing I love about what you guys recently published an article that actually communicated to the public how many conversions you were getting from the LLMs. So you guys are probably one step ahead of a lot of us having that data at your fingertips already. So definitely a great practice to get ahead of as well. I just wanted to talk briefly just about the answers over keywords, just because it's such an interesting behavior that's changing. So we know that from data that was done, there was a study by Sam Rush that an average query length in regular old ChatGPT is like 23 words. There's some that get crazy. Obviously, you put together massive prompts, the word count is going to go haywire, but the average word count is around 23 words. But if you switch to use Search GPT, which is an option, sort of the drop-down menu in ChatGPT that some people know about. But if you switch to that, then the search query drops to 4 words, which is fascinating, because it means that like we are so hardwired or trained to think about keywords in that from that perspective. And obviously Google, we're still seeing a lot of that in their data. There's slightly longer queries when it's in AI mode from some early analysis. But the queries are still kind of like 4 to 8 or something like that. So it means that, folks are still thinking in terms of keywords. We obviously do need to shift our thinking more towards answers. Just one other reason really quick, we don't want to move away from keywords altogether, just because the LLMs they're trained to mimic the way search engines work, because they build basically a knowledge graph of all the different types of entities and essentially layer in all the associations. Essentially it's a connective tissue of how they all relate to each other. These entities, they're brands, as we talked about, but they can be things, people, places, or services, your products, and essentially those are keywords. And basically how a user attaches words or modifiers around these entities, that builds a longer tail keyword that we can essentially still build content around and thus capture within, content citations and LLMs. So, but we will be moving towards focusing on answers, and I think the important takeaway here is just that this is the future that we need, and this is probably the gap that you need to fill the most. But anyway, with all this new territory, we do have some rather good news. Despite the rapidly evolving search landscape, thankfully the fundamentals of good SEO still apply, and this is part of the don't panic. And really to sweeten it even more, our overarching approach to GEO aligns with the 3 core principles of SEO. So content, technical, and authority, which is how our GEO playbook is organized. So we can't go through the full playbook because it would take all of our time here. We've obviously highlighted some already, and I'm going to highlight a few more and cover some of the same territory as both Alex and Scott covered. But we'll also summarize. We'll also provide you a GEO playbook checklist that you'll all have in your inbox after this webinar. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is summarize the playbook with the next 5 key takeaways. But first, in total, there's only about a third of the actions from that checklist are unique to GEO. So the remaining actions are ones you should already be doing for SEO because they all apply to GEO. So essentially, the bottom line is, if you're practicing good SEO, then you are 2/3 of the way there for GEO. So that's very, very good news. So let's jump on to the next. So let's jump on to the 5 key practices. So basically, EEAT. We've talked a lot about this already, just creating excellent expert content. It's quite literally the most important thing we can be doing for content to ensure it adheres to Google's quality rater guidelines. So basically, if you're practicing good SEO by demonstrating EEAT in your content, you're winning. This will apply directly to GEO, and if you're not, basically you need to go back and revisit this one and optimize this content, improve this content so that it meets those. Retrievability is the next one. So Googlebot is smart, and AI bots are frankly dumber. So we don't want to block them in our robots.txt file. This is way more common than you think. Your legacy robots.txt file might just have something there that doesn't allow all of their bots, and you didn't think to check it. So check that. Also, a lesser known fact is that most AI bots, ChatGPT bot, Claude bot, Meta's bot, Perplexity bot, they do not render JavaScript currently. And it's probably unlikely that they will, because it's expensive to render JavaScript. It takes a lot of computing power. And frankly, I don't think they care if they can't see your content, where Googlebot has more motivation to do so because it's monetized. So what's best to do is to render it for them. Use server-side rendering or pre-rendering, static-site generation, whatever. Just make sure that the bots are served the fully rendered HTML and can see and process all of your content. Otherwise, it's invisible to them. So, and also make sure your site's performance is fast. Make sure it's free of broken links. These bots get tripped up really easily, and they're not as persistent as Googlebot. So next thing is data. It's king. So structured data specifically. Alex obviously talked a lot about this, as did Scott highlight that too. So this makes it easy for the AI bots. So just double check that you're using structured data everywhere possible. Structured data enhances the AI's ability to interpret your content. So it's just a no-brainer. Also, don't leave any metadata or media attributes blank. These are fields that lend a helping hand to better understand our media, and thus also improve in what's now, especially ChatGPT search is even upgrading this with ChatGPT 5 multimodal AI results. So we'll see a lot more video, a lot more imagery in our results coming very soon. So for images, this means descriptive alt text. And for videos, this means transcripts. Again, these bots need a little bit more help than what we're used to. We've gotten very comfortable with Googlebot because they made it easy for us. All right, the next one. So when in doubt, you can ask AI. So you can ask them for their sources. They'll tell you. Once you get those sources, you can work cross-functionally to get brand mentions there. So it's your direct line right into into where they're getting their information from. So yes, you can press them. Sometimes they'll hold back, but just be like, "Yo, where'd you get this?" But yeah, just be sure once you're seeing that content or you're working cross-functionally that you have consistency in your brand messaging across all the different channels, both on the site and off the site. Interestingly, when we talk about sources, there's a study by Profound which revealed that ChatGPT sources Wikipedia the most, 48% of the time. While Google AI Overviews and Perplexity sourced Reddit the most. So Google was about 21% of the time. That was the highest place of sourcing was using Reddit. And then Perplexity was 47% of the time. Alex, I know you had some thoughts here as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I really love, these bullets in general are all great. I particularly love bullet 4 because I feel like a lot of this the topic is like, how do we conform to AI? But 4 is all about flipping the script. We can get AI to help us. We can delegate questions to ChatGPT to ask, hey, what are your sources for this information? All these services now quote where they're getting information from. So use that to your advantage and see, okay, I'm being sourced from this place or I'm not being sourced here. Why is that? And it's a great place to drill in and get information to improve your own strategy just by having a conversation with these tools.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'll just chime in. We're going to provide a resource here as well. So like as someone who aggressively uses AI to do these tasks themselves, I've just pasted in essentially a mega prompt that you can use, and the Contentful team will post it into the chat. It'll also be provided later. So it will actually help you do this. So this is a prompt. You can take your content. It will actually help do many of the things we've talked about today without you having to think about it that much. This is, I would say, a great starting point and a very quick way to say level up. And so happy to provide that resource for you. It works in Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, Perplexity. It's ready to go, and that'll be a resource for you.
Awesome, what a resource. Thanks for sharing that, Scott. That's awesome. And so finally, just the last bullet, the last sort of key practice here is that we need to evolve how we measure. So we've talked about this already. Traffic's dropping, demand isn't. So we just need to shift our KPIs away from traffic. Traffic's dead. Let's shift it. We're not even reporting on it basically anymore. So shift to conversions, to deeper pipeline metrics, to what really counts and moves the needle. So track your AI visibility in LLMs and measure your share of voice against competitors, and so we have all these bases covered. And then use branded search, branded search volume. So if you're influencing that, or if you're seeing higher direct traffic, that's likely people popping out of the LLMs and going directly to your website. If you're seeing more return visitors, for instance, these are all AI discovery indicators that we can start to absorb and use to report to our C-suite.
Yeah.
Which is
And just for
something-
everyone who's chiming in the chat right away, we will provide this. It seems that you're not able to copy the material that was there. That's fine. Don't worry, it'll come along with the slides and the presentation. So you don't need to try and scramble and screenshot it or anything. It'll be provided to you, so you'll be able to work with it. Don't worry.
Everyone wants that prompt, man. It's awesome. So what's your our poll? Sorry, number two. Question number two here is: what is your biggest challenge adapting to AI search? So is it knowing where to start, structuring content for LLMs, providing value or ROI, or getting internal buy-in? Give everyone a chance to respond. All right, so it looks like structuring content for LLMs is the biggest challenge. That's fascinating. So hopefully we've given you some good tips. The second one was knowing where to start at 29%. So yeah, I think hopefully that more than anything we've given you, and then structuring your content. I know all of the three of us have talked about how to structure your content to ensure it adheres to what the bots are looking for. Next we're going to discuss how to explain the shift to your executive team. It's something that I think a lot of us probably panic about, but as you see, the very first one is to not panic. You've heard this throughout the session. Remember, if you're already practicing good SEO, you're 2/3 of the way there for GEO. So use our playbook checklist that we're going to send you after this to value where you're at, basically, and then you can communicate this to the C-suite. You can start to put together, an action plan based on this checklist and share that. Also, I think we need to think of them as being on our side, the C-suite. They're often intimidating, and it's funny because Scott's a C-suite. We have a C-suite sitting on our panel, so he can give us some feedback on what I'm saying here. But basically, I'm saying this purely based on their stature. They can be intimidating, right? Because Scott's not an intimidating guy.
No.
They also might be just as panicked as you are about the unknown or the declining traffic. There's pressure from their board or from shareholders or from the not having the right answers, right? So you can help improve this. You can be the hero.
Yeah,
So
definitely. You want to get ahead of that question. Why did our traffic just drop? Like that, we've seen that happen, and people not ready with a set of answers and tooling, and essentially imagine from your side your ask for the hours and budget to go tackle this problem.
100%.
Yeah, and I can talk. The next two bullets I can cover through too. I am very much an optimist when it comes to AI and LLMs working with us all on the web. This is a whole new paradigm, a new automation that understands your content better than any other automation has in the past. So this is really a whole new channel to get the meaning behind your business and your content out to new customers, which is a huge upside that's available. We mentioned we didn't mention the details earlier, but Vercel has seen 10% improvement in conversions from ChatGPT alone. So this is an opportunity to seize here. And then in a similar way, optimizing GEO, updating your content to provide answers. This is great for LLMs and parsing your content, but this is also going to improve your user experience. If you're creating content that is giving answers to customers and users concisely, meaningfully, and you're doing this on new frontier content that's continuously refreshed, sure, that's great for an LLM, but that's also great for humans that are going to your website. So it's not just about GEO. And then Scott, I'll hand it over to you to talk about cross-functional support.
Yeah, I think that really quickly.
Sorry.
I can speak to it just really, really quickly. I think cross-functional support is in all of our work. We know we have to bring legal and compliance on these things as soon as you start talking about this because they get worried about it. But it is a fairly easy conversation to have once you get into it. I'll leave that over to Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can talk to a C-suite about getting the support you need, because that's, this GEO is a team sport. And also about getting hard data. So everyone's got an opinion about what's going on with, as you see on LinkedIn. But the best ammo for these opinions is hard data. So, get your tracking in place and then steer the conversation with gusto. So data always wins. So, and then you pass that on to your C-suite and they got all the information they need to talk to the board and everybody else and instill confidence. Next up, we need to speak their language. So Gen AI tracking tools will track your share of voice versus competition, queries, and just everything around your core offering and your brand. So even some of them are providing sentiment analysis, which is essentially are you showing up in a positive light or a negative light? This is the kind of stuff your C-suite will absolutely love to hear. This is their language. And then finally, knowing your audience. So, a recent poll found that Reddit drives more referring traffic than all the LLMs combined. So many, are going to be quick to invest in AI due to the hype, but it's critical to know that your audience, where your audience is and where you're investing, where it counts. So the C-suite are definitely keepers of the purse. So they'll be always interested in budget conversations. So this is music to their ears. So yeah, lastly is, I'll just run through Contentfuls very quick, how we can help. So our foundations are built in content modeling. So this creates structured content and then lends itself perfectly to structured data. So this is bliss for bots, web and AI both. And then with Contentful, content's all centrally managed. So it helps with reducing duplicate content and also helps with consistency of messaging. And then finally, you can supercharge your content by using AI actions. It enables content generation, optimization, automation, and then really to help you build content at scale and flexibility. I think that's one of the key components of moving away from a monolithic CMS. We break the constraints and it lets you organize your content to optimize however you want it for geo processing.
Yeah, and on the Vercel side, many different reasons or many different ways that we can help. One, we're a strategic partner with Contentful. We have great integrations, resources on how to marry the two services together. So it's a great place to start with Contentful. And with Vercel, we provide the high performance infrastructure for AI. What this means is if you have a website that needs to be very fast and leverage the best practices for SEO and GEO, Vercel is where you want to go. And Vercel has a slew of different products all around AI. We have several AI native products, and that's made us kind of a pioneer in the AI and web ecosystem. For example, we'll include resources after this webinar that includes research that we've done to really look at how GEO is impacting conversion and how to cater to it. So we have the infrastructure, we have a lot of thought leadership here, and then lastly, we have tools to make you agile, both on the development side and on the marketing side. So developers can easily, quickly ship new best practices, new features to the front end, as well as equip your marketing team to publish and immediately see content that they know needs to get out there as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and on the apply side, obviously, like we're the ones that do a lot of these design, build, and strategy work with partners like Vercel and Contentful. So we do use AI in our work with Contentful to actually produce, for example, the alt tags, and those are tuned for geo and SEO as well as accessibility. We do a lot of deployments on Vercel. And we have our own resources here for you to use. We have an AI playbook, which is part of like the getting time back for yourself, as well as those resources like the prompts and stuff that we're sharing here. That is pretty normal things for us to just freely share. We want to help everyone get there and just really succeed. And it's a great group of, I would say, partners that can get that done that's on this slide. But we're all very capable companies that you should look for. And when you look at the resources that we all have, it's a little bit overlapping sometimes, but great. I've used their content as well myself to go forward.
We need a triangle in our logo. Someone didn't tell us it was triangle like everyone else got triangle.
Yeah, it's Triangle Day.
It's Triangle Day. So I just want to mention that we're going to send all the resources that we've mentioned in this to everybody. So check your inboxes. But last poll question is, would you be interested in a follow-up content or conversation with Contentful, Vercel, or Applied Digital? Yes, please let us know if you're interested in that. If you'd like to chat, if you'd like to send resources, or not right now, maybe later. or just no thanks. Cool. My apologies as well. We had to sort of rushed at a little bit at the end there. So I'm not sure we're going to have any time for questions. I think what we'll do is we'll follow up. Is that accurate, guys? I'm just checking with our
Yeah,
host.
absolutely. We can go through these questions and provide some answers afterward to the group.
Thank you,
Okay,
everyone.
thanks,
We
everyone.
also are going to have another session. It's structured more for the European timeline, European time zone, but it's not too late or it's not too early for a lot of you folks based in North America. So if you want to hear some of this content again, and hopefully we'll get to more questions at the end of that session, and that is in 2 days on Thursday.
Yeah, great questions, everyone, by the way. Really love, there's a bunch of really smart questions in there. We'll do our best to address them.
Absolutely. I second that. Thank you.